Good evening, everyone. Today, I'll be explaining to you the 5 multimedia principles, as well as also giving an example of how to use them.
First, you have coherency, which is how you have different sources of information relate back to your primary material and how it affects the viewer's retention rate. For instance, having something that is a far cry from the primary material you're trying to show someone can lower their retention rate. So it's best to try and keep them focused on the main subject and to try and not do things like add fun facts. Next, you have signaling, which is the usage of graphics in order to highlight the information that you want the viewer to retain. You can often do this by using arrows or circles in order to help focus the viewer's attention. Next, you have redundancy, which is the usage of multiple sources in order for the viewer to retain the information. Although, if you use too many, it can cause the viewer to have their attention be split and make it harder for them to retain it. The fourth one we have is spatial contiguity, which is how graphic elements and text elements align themselves within a frame. Generally, keeping them closer together will allow the viewer to have an easier time retaining the information, and keeping them farther apart will make it harder for them to retain the information. And lastly, we have temporal contiguity, which is how different elements, specifically being visual and verbal, are arranged along a timeline. Generally, keeping them running simultaneously will give you a better chance of having the viewer retain the information, rather than having them run separately.
Alright. And this nonsensical example that I have prepared for you is cannons and how to reload and fire.
For the example of firing and reloading a cannon, we'll be using the 12-pounder Napoleon. In order to operate the weapon, it required a crew of 5. This crew consisted of 4 cannoneers and a gunner. The steps for reloading and firing goes as so. The third cannoneer would take a leather glove and place it on the vent at the back of the cannon. This prevents sparks from getting more oxygen and allows them to die out. Along with this, Cannoneer 1 would take a tool known as a sheephead and use it to clean out the barrel. Doing so gets rid of any ash or debris that might have been left over. Then, after that, the fourth cannoneer would then take a cartridge consisting of a powder bag, a wooden sabot to hold it together, and the 12-pound iron ball, and give it to the second cannoneer, who would then take it and ready it in place. When the mark is given, the first cannoneer would then take the other end of the sheephead, known as the ramhead, and jam it into place. Once this is complete, Cannoneer 3 would then take his hand off the vent hole and use something known as a primer wire in order to poke holes into the powder charge at the back of the cartridge. Doing so would then release the powder, allowing it to be lit. After this, the gunner would then step in and use the various tools on the back of the cannon in order to aim it properly. Once he does this, he would then step away and allow for the fourth cannoneer to use a tool known as a friction primer attached to a lanyard, put it in the vent hole in order to then pull it out at a high speed in order to fire the shell. Before he does this, the rest of the crew steps to the side and behind one of the wheels, whereas the fourth cannoneer stands at the back and to the left. He then gives the order to fire and pulls the lanyard as hard as he can, causing friction, sparks, and a massive explosion, sending the cannonball directly into the battlefield.
And that is the example I have before you of how you can use the 5 principles of multimedia learning in order to enhance the learning experience for your viewer. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy.